A chick that will grow into a cock is spotted the very day it hatches. African proverb. From the moment Kelechi was born, drums thundered through the palace walls. Elders prophesied greatness, mothers ululated in joy, and the kingdom rejoiced. His father, King Obinna, gazed into his newborn son's eyes and whispered, "This child will rule with wisdom, or he will destroy himself with pride." Nobody knew those words would one day echo like thunder over the boy's destiny. The child who washes his hands clean will dine with kings. African proverb. When Kelechi boarded the plane, the village crowded to bid him farewell. His mother pressed a small leather-bound Bible into his hands. "Kelechi, never forget your God. Never forget your roots." The boy smiled with confidence, unaware that this would be the last time she would see him as the son she raised. In the foreign land, lights dazzled him, friends lured him, and for the first time he tasted freedom. Freedom that would soon chain him. When the drumbeat changes, the dancer's steps must change also. African proverb. The friends he found abroad were smooth-tongued, full of laughter, and always had money. They told him, "Life is too short, Prince. Forget the books. Join us and you'll taste real power." Kelechi followed. First it was parties, then gambling, then small crimes, until one night, sirens wailed, hands forced him to the ground, and cold metal cuffs bit into his wrists. The newspapers screamed the headline, "African Prince arrested for crime abroad." The kingdom across the ocean wept. The child who will not hear must feel. African proverb. The clang of the prison gates echoed like a funeral drum the first night Kelechi entered. The air was thick with sweat, curses, and despair. He had thought he knew fear, but when the iron doors slammed shut behind him, he understood a new kind of terror, one that gnawed at his soul. His cellmates were hardened men, their eyes cold, their bodies marked with scars. At first they mocked him. "Look at the prince," one sneered. "Where is your crown now?" The days blurred into weeks. Fights broke out over food, over insults, over nothing at all. One night, Kelechi awoke to a blade pressed against his throat. "Your life means nothing here," whispered a man with wild eyes. "You think you are special? You are just another body." Kelechi froze, his heart pounding. A guard's sudden shout down the corridor saved him. The man slipped back into the shadows. Kelechi could not sleep for days, haunted by the thought that death walked beside him every night. Another time he befriended a fellow inmate, Musa, who shared bread with him and spoke gently. For months Musa was like a brother. But one night, Kelechi discovered Musa had betrayed him, stealing the last of his meager belongings to trade for drugs. The pain of betrayal cut deeper than hunger. In the darkest moments, Kelechi considered ending it all. Better to die than to rot, he thought, staring at the ceiling of his cell. But then, his mother's voice returned to him. "My son, if sinners entice you, do not consent." Proverbs 1 verse 10. And his father's words thundered in his heart. The one who will not hear must feel. Kelechi broke down in tears, whispering into the darkness, "God, if you are real, save me from myself." That night, a fellow inmate slid a torn Bible under his bunk. It was old, pages missing, but it opened to Psalm 34 verse 18. "The Lord is close to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Kelechi clutched those words like a drowning man clutching driftwood. Slowly hope returned. He began to study by dim light, devouring every word, writing invisible letters in the air to his parents, vowing that if he ever walked free again, his life would not be wasted. The fights continued, the betrayals came, and death prowled the corridors, but within him, a seed of strength began to grow. Though the world had stripped him of freedom, dignity, and honor, God was rebuilding him in secret. No matter how far a stream flows, it never forgets its source. African proverb. The plane touched down on African soil. Kelechi stepped out, his heart heavy. Whispers spread through the crowd. Is that not the prince who was jailed abroad? He has brought shame to his father's house. Some villagers spat as he walked past. Children pointed. His heart sank, but when his father embraced him, King Obinna whispered, "Welcome home, my son. The throne is not yours, but your life can still be." Kelechi bowed his head. That night he sat alone in the courtyard, staring at the stars. Just as he began to pray, a shadow emerged from the darkness. It was Tund, one of the very friends who had lured him into crime abroad. His grin was the same, his voice as smooth as ever. "Ah, Prince Kelechi," Tund said mockingly, "so you are back. Do you think prison has changed anything? You and I, we are not so different. I have work for you. Quick money. More than your father's throne could ever give." Kelechi froze. His heart raced. The temptation was sharp. One step into Tund's plan and the old chains would return. In that moment, the words he had read in prison thundered in his spirit. What does it profit a man to gain the whole world, yet lose his soul? Mark 8 verse 36. Kelechi's voice shook, but his resolve was firm. "No, Tund. I lost everything once because I listened to you. Never again." Tund sneered, stepping closer. "You will regret this, Kelechi. Men like us don't change." Kelechi straightened, his eyes burning with new strength. "I am not the man you once knew. Go back to your darkness. I choose light." As Tund disappeared into the night, Kelechi realized something powerful. His true test was not prison, it was freedom. And this time he had passed. Still be. The ruin of a nation begins in the homes of its youth. African proverb. The town hall was packed. Students, parents, and elders filled the benches, waiting to hear from the disgraced prince who had become a voice of wisdom. Kelechi stood at the podium, his hands trembling slightly as he gripped the microphone. "My sons and daughters," he began, his voice steady, "I once had everything: riches, honor, a future as bright as the sun. But I threw it away because I chose the wrong company. For 10 years, prison walls were my teachers. And now I stand before you not to boast, but to warn you. Do not walk the road I walked." Murmurs of agreement filled the hall. Some nodded, some wept quietly. But then suddenly, the back doors burst open. Tund swaggered in. His clothes were sharp, his gold chain glittered, and his smirk carried poison. He shouted loud enough for all to hear. "Don't be fooled. This man is no hero. He's a criminal, a failure, a prince who lost his crown. And you listened to him." Gasps filled the room. Some youths looked uncertain. Others whispered. The elders frowned, waiting to see what Kelechi would do. For a moment, Kelechi's heart sank. His old shame rose like a tide. But then he remembered the verse he clung to in prison. "For though the righteous fall 7 times, they rise again." Proverbs 24 verse 16. He raised his head, looked Tund in the eyes, and said firmly, "You're right, Tund. I did fall. I lost my crown. I lost 10 years of my life. But I did not lose my soul." The crowd grew silent. Kelechi's voice grew stronger, filled with fire. "Yes, I was a prisoner, but God set me free. You parade gold chains, but I know what it means to live in real chains. You mock me, but I stand here today because my story can save these young ones from your lies." He turned to the crowd. "Listen to me, children. Evil friends will laugh with you in freedom but abandon you in prison. They will clap for you when you fall, but none will lift you up. Choose wisely. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul?" The hall erupted in applause. Some students stood, clapping and cheering. Even the elders rose to their feet, nodding with approval. Tund's smirk faltered. For the first time he had no words. He slipped out of the hall, his shadow swallowed by the night. Kelechi, breathing heavily, lifted the old Bible his mother had once given him and declared, "My crown is not of gold or silver. It is this testimony. And if one soul is saved today, then my fall was not in vain." The hall thundered with shouts of agreement, and in that moment the fallen prince became something greater than a king. He became a messenger of redemption. Under the baobab tree, King Obina's voice trembled with age but burned with power. "My son, you have walked through fire and returned with wisdom. Hear me now. The river that forgets its source will dry up. You forgot once, but you have returned. From today, let your life be a stream that waters others." Kelechi wept, not from shame but from grace. He was no longer just a fallen prince. He was a living proverb. Kelechi's story reminds us, wrong friends can destroy a destiny. Wisdom ignored becomes pain experienced. Redemption is possible when we return to our source.